One of the classic sources on Ahavas Hashem is the Rambam at the beginning of Hilchos Yisodei HaTorah. There in Perek Bet he writes, Ha'el hanichbad lihanora hazeh mitzvah li'avo li'yira mimenu. Shenemar v'yahavtas Hashem lokecha v'nemar Hashem lokecha tira. That this honor-filled and awesome God, we have a mitzvah, both to love Him and to fear Him. We have a mitzvah to love Him because we say, as we say in Kriya Shema every day, v'yahavtas Hashem lokecha, you shall love Hashem your God, and we have a mitzvah to fear Him because the pasuk says that God you shall fear. And how do we do this? How do we love God? How do we do this? How do we come to love God? Says Rambam, there's a formula. And the formula is we have to go out and study God's world. We have to look at what He has done, what He has created, how awesome the world around us is. And immediately, he says, right, we will understand, we will come to love Him, we will praise Him, and we will be overcome with this desire to know more about Him and to draw closer to Him. Amar David, says the Rambam, this is what David HaMelech meant when he said that his soul thirsts for God. It's because he had been out in the world and looked at what an awesome creation God had given us and wanted to know more about Him and to draw closer to Him. That's the Rambam. There is, though, another source, which seems almost contradictory to this one. Whereas the Rambam seems to suggest that love of God comes from the study of the world, from the study of biology and chemistry and physics and history and sociology and psychology, the Midrash in V'yas Chanan seems to give us a very different approach. It says the Midrash in V'yas Chanan, V'hayu advarim ha'ila asher nochi mitzadcha hayom, right? Another citation from Kriya Shema, which we say every day, very next pasuk. And these things which I command you today, you shall put them on your heart. So Rabbi Omer Lama Nemar says, why do we have to have this pasuk? What does this pasuk mean when it says we need to put the mitzvos on our heart? And Yodea Ketzad Avinu Samakum Talmud Lomar Vayu Advarim Ha'ila Asher Nochi Mitzavcha Hayom Al Levavecha Teina Advarim Ha'ila Al Libcha Shemitoch Kach Ata Makirs Misha Amar V'Haya Olam Umedabek B'Drachav. Says the Medrash as follows. Rebbe asks, why is it that we need to have this pasuk to tell us to put the mitzvos on our heart? And he answers, because the pasuk before says we have to love God. And after all, we might be left asking ourselves, how does one come to love God? The same question that the Rambam asked, but a different answer. Says the Medrash, we don't come to love God by going out into the world and studying biology and chemistry and physics, but rather by taking these mitzvos and putting them on our heart, by studying HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Torah, by performing His mitzvos. And this is the way that we in fact come to love of God. So which one is it? Do we come to love God by studying His world, or do we come to God by studying His Torah? It says the Netziv in Shir HaShirim that these two things are not incompatible and not contradictory at all. In fact, he says, the fact that they go together explains much of what we see in the world today. It says the Netziv, the situation is much like someone who tells you that there's a person I know that you'd really like, and you'd really like to get to know. He's a tremendous person, wonderful in so many different ways. You'd really enjoy having a relationship with the person. And one day that person comes into proximity of you, but you've never actually met him. You've never actually established any type of relationship with him. There's going to be no emotional response on your part, despite the fact that if you had had a relationship with this person, you might in fact actually feel something for them. But right now, you don't have a relationship with them, and as much as one can describe their wonderful qualities to you, you're just not going to feel it. Says the Netziv, the same is true when it comes to Ahavas Hashem. He said, yes, it is true that looking at God's world and studying His world is in fact a way to increase Ahavas Hashem, to increase the love of God. But there's a first step that needs to be taken first, and that is to create a relationship with God. Without a relationship, without an understanding that God exists, without some sort of prior interaction with God that comes to us through the performance of mitzvahs, then the study of God's world doesn't do anything for one's Ahavas Hashem. And that, of course, explains to us why it is today, and that we have many people in the world of science who are quite knowledgeable about biology, physics, chemistry, and whatever else, but yet the study of it doesn't do anything for their Ahavas Hashem, doesn't increase their love of God at all, because, says the Netziv, they're missing that first step. The first step is to establish a relationship with God. We do that through the performance of His mitzvahs, through living as a Jew, and once we do that, then we go out into the world and we see the world of biology and physics and chemistry and everything else through the prism of an Ohev Hashem, through the prism of one who loves God. And that brings us to the Rambam. And in fact, our study of that world will indeed increase our love of God and bring us the desire to draw closer to Him.